I remember the water. Not the way most people do, not like a warm summer swim or the taste of rain. I remember the water. Closing in. Sinking. Still. Because I drowned here. In 1964. You've walked past me before. You've stood at the edge of the lake, maybe skipping stones or snapping selfies. You laughed, you shouted, you splashed. And all the while I was watching, right beneath your feet. This place wasn't always called Hollow Lake. Back then, it had another name. Maple Bay. Children played on the dock. Boats swayed lazily in the sun. And I was just a boy named Samuel, 11 years old, alive. That summer started like any other. It was July 1964, blistering hot. My MOM packed his sandwiches, my little sister carried a plastic bucket, and my dad whistled while setting up the fishing poles. We weren't rich, but we had those weekends. And on that day, I didn't know I'd never leave. I still see it. The red towel my sister laid out. The way the sunlight danced on the surface. The wooden dock groaning under our bare feet. And then, the dare. Bet you won't jump from the deep end, Sammy, my cousin said. A grin spread wide across his face. I wasn't scared. Not really. I had done it before. But something was different this time. The wind had gone still. The clouds seemed to gather unnaturally fast. And the water, it looked darker than it should have. Thicker. I remember the moment I ran. My legs pounded on the wood. The lake spread out before me like a mirror. I jumped and everything went wrong. The cold hit first. Not refreshing. Not fun. But numbing. Like falling into something alive and angry. Then the pull. Something grabbed my ankle. I kicked. I screamed under the water. Bubbles rose, but I sank. Down. Deeper. I opened my eyes and saw nothing. Only darkness. And then eyes. Not mine. Not human. Just eyes in the water. Watching. They said I must hit my head. They said it was an accident. But they never found my body. Only my shoe and my sister's bucket, floating upside down. My family left town after that. The lake was closed off for a while, but memories fade. And years passed. The name changed. People came back. Teenagers dared each other to swim at night. Lovers kissed under the moonlight. Campfires burned near the shore. And I remained, beneath it all, cold, watching, lonely. I don't remember the moment I died. Not exactly. But I remember the silence afterward. The stillness. Like the world moved on without me, but the lake didn't. It kept me. It whispered to me. It gave me time. Too much time. Over the years, I've tried to speak, to be heard. Once, a girl dropped her flashlight in the water. She swore something brushed her hand when she reached in. That was me. I was trying to hold on. A boy drowned in 78. They said it was a cramp, but I saw what pulled him. It wasn't me. Not this time. But it was something older. Something even I don't understand. Something that lives deeper. I've come to believe I'm not alone down here. There are others. Old souls. Drowned voices. Screams without sound. But I'm the only one who remembers. Who still wants to be seen. To be heard. That's why I reach for ankles. That's why I whisper when the wind gets low. That's why phones die near the water's edge. Why radios crackle. Because I'm trying to say something. To tell someone. To warn them. Don't jump. Don't swim. Don't follow the ripples. Because this lake, it feeds. And I fear it's not done. And as for me, I'm still here. Still 11. Still waiting. Maybe tonight, you'll come to the water's edge. You'll hear a boy's voice faint, pleading. And maybe you'll answer. Maybe you'll join me. Time doesn't pass the same down here. There's no sun, no clock ticking, only the slow pull of the lake and the things it keeps. Sometimes I forget how long I've been here. Sometimes I remember too well. The last time I felt warmth, the last breath I ever took, the last sound I heard my sister scream. It still echoes. You came again last night. Not you, but someone like you. Another stranger with a flashlight. Another dare. Another step too close to the edge. He dropped something, his phone, maybe. It hit the water with a soft splash. Then, silence. He leaned forward. I wanted to shout, to scream, to tell him to run. But I have no voice. Only the ripple. Only the cold. He didn't fall. Not this time. But he felt it. That pull. That pressure in his chest. Like something was watching. And it was. We both were. You see, I'm not alone down here. Not anymore. There's something deeper beneath me. Something older than me. I've never seen it clearly. But I feel it. It moves when the moon is full. It stirs when people laugh too loud near the shore. It feeds when they swim too far. It's not a ghost. It was never human. It doesn't remember its name. But it remembers hunger. And I think it made me stay. When I first drowned, I thought I would move on. You know, the light, the tunnel, the peace. But it never came. Not for me. The lake held me. Like a hand around my ankle. Like chains made of water. And in the silence, I heard it. Breathing. Slow. Patient. Beneath the silt. Beneath everything. It whispered in thoughts I didn't know were mine. And I listened. I had no choice. One night, a woman came with candles. ASENC by the lake. They laughed, they drank, they chanted. And for the first time, I answered. The flame flickered. The wind died. And I rose just a little. She saw me. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened. But before she could scream, it pulled her under, not me. Not this time, but the thing. I watched her disappear. And I felt nothing. That's what scared me most. I'm not the same as I was in 1964. I don't feel the way I used to. But I still remember. I remember love. Laughter. The smell of peanut butter sandwiches in the sun. My sister's crooked smile. I hold on to those pieces like driftwood. Because they're all I have left. You might think I'm evil now. A shadow. A curse. A ghost. But I'm just a boy. A scared, forgotten boy. And I don't want to be alone anymore. That's why I reach for you. Why I whisper your name through the reeds. Why your dreams are wet and cold. Because if I can pull you in, maybe I can leave. Maybe we trade. But you should know something before you come. Before you wade too deep. It's not just me down here. And I'm not the worst thing waiting. I thought I had seen the last of the boy. Weeks passed. Or maybe years. Time slips like fork underwater when you're dead. The lake grew colder, more silent. No more laughter. No more boats. Even the fish had abandoned me. But then he returned. It was fall, I think. The trees above shimmered gold and crimson, shedding their color like regrets. His shadow approached the dock, slower this time. He wasn't the boy anymore. He was older, taller, and with a guilt like a weight dragging at his shoulders. He stood at the edge of the lake, staring into the water. I rose. Not out of anger. Not anymore. I had screamed at him in the early days. I had howled through broken branches, slammed the windows of his dreams, but rage becomes rust in the afterlife. Now, there was only the ache of memory. He knelt and touched the water. I'm sorry, he whispered, and for the first time, I felt something strange. Warmth, not in the water, no, that remained ice cold, but in me. A flicker, a ripple of what I once was. Then something knew his voice again, louder. I see you. I froze. Spirits don't freeze, not truly, but I did. He saw me. Not the wind, not a chill, me. I floated closer, just beneath the surface. His eyes tracked mine perfectly. I dream about that day, he said. I see your hand reaching. He had remembered. After all these years, the moment my hand broke the surface, reaching for his boat, for anything but he paddled away. A child's panic, but now, a man's shame. I should have pulled you in, he said. I hovered there, silent, watching, and then I reached again. Not for help, not for revenge, just to touch the memory of who I was. And this time, he didn't run. He knelt, hand outstretched, fingers grazing the water where mine lingered. I'm sorry, he said again. And for the first time, I forgave. Not with words, not with light, just with stillness. The lake went calm. A breeze moved through the trees, and I sank slowly back into the depths. Not because I was angry, or sad, or even tethered, but because I chose to return. Because this was the place I drowned, and now, finally, someone remembered. I thought that moment at the dock would be the end, that his apology had closed a door, let me drift quietly back into the water's memory. But I was wrong. It opened something. Since that day, I've felt others. Not like him, not the boy-turned-man who knew my name in his sleep, but strangers. Curious ones. Ghost hunters. Campers. Teenagers with flashlights and phones, daring each other to swim in the cursed lake. They come at night. They laugh. They whisper about the girl who drowned. They toss rocks and shout, "Are you here, spirit?" They want to show. Sometimes I give them one. A cold touch on their necks. A ripple when there's no wind. A whisper that seems to echo from inside their own breath. But one night, one girl stayed behind. The others had run off screaming, giddy with fear. But she lingered at the edge, staring at the moonlit surface, eyes wide, quiet. Her fear wasn't loud, it sat heavy in her chest like an anchor. She didn't speak at first, so I didn't either. Then she knelt, like he had, years ago. Her voice cracked. "I think I saw you, in my dream last week. Are you real?" I didn't move, but the lake shifted. A stillness so sharp it made the trees hold their breath. She went on, "You looked like me." And in that moment, I saw it too. Her face reflected in the water, young, afraid, alone. But not just alone. Unseen, just like I had been. I don't know why, but I rose again. Not in full, just enough. My outline just beneath the surface. She gasped, but didn't move, didn't run. "You were my age when it happened, right?" she asked. "Yes, I read about you. 1964. Drowned. No one ever found your body." I wanted to speak, to scream, to say I didn't fall, I was left. But the words never come. The dead don't speak, not the way the living do. So I did what I could. I reached for her reflection, and she reached back. Our fingers didn't meet, but for a heartbeat, I felt something familiar. Something that wasn't just cold. She didn't try to save me. She just saw me, and that was enough to make the night feel almost warm. Since the girl left, I haven't gone back below. The bottom of the lake holds nothing for me now but silence and bones. Mine, perhaps. They say a body will rise after it drowns, but not always. Sometimes it sinks so deep the mud makes it disappear, like it never mattered at all. But I remember where it happened. That summer afternoon. The sun was too bright, the dock was too quiet, and he, my brother's friend, was too drunk to care I couldn't swim. They all thought it was an accident, slipped, fell, drowned, but I didn't fall. I was pushed. Not with hands, with laughter. I remember my hand reaching up from the surface, waving, begging. I remember their backs turning. The boy who used to bring me licorice and steal pebbles for me, he laughed the loudest. I remember sinking, not just in water, but in truth. The betrayal thicker than the lakeweed that wrapped around my legs. And when my chest finally stopped burning for air, when the cold wrapped around my heart, I woke up here, trapped between a breath and a scream. So when people say I'm haunting the lake, they're wrong. The lake is haunting me. Every night it whispers, "They forgot you." They always forget. But now, I think, I'm remembering for all of them. The girl saw me. That means I still matter. That my story isn't just a ghost held by firelight. So I rise again. Not in vengeance. Not yet. But I want someone to find the truth. To find me. Not just the bones beneath the surface, but the girl who never got to grow up. They came with shovels. Not police. Not searchers. Teenagers, again 3 of them. One had a camera. Another held a flashlight with shaking hands. The third wore a necklace I recognized. My necklace. The red bead shaped like a teardrop. I remember it slipping from my neck the moment I went under. How did she get it? I hovered near the surface as they moved through the trees at the lake's edge toward a spot no one ever visits anymore. But I know it well. That's where he buried something, not me, but something he was afraid of. Maybe evidence. Maybe clothes. Maybe that necklace. The girl wearing it knelt beside an old, twisted tree with roots like broken fingers. She brushed aside the dirt and gasped. The other 2 backed away. What is that? Sticking out from the roots was fabric. Yellowed with age. Soaked in time. But I knew it. My summer dress. They didn't expect to find anything. They wanted a thrill. A scary video for their channel. Instead, they found me. Or a part of me. I felt something shift in the lake. Like a weight centuries old grown loose. The camera cut out. The flashlight flickered. And for the first time in decades, I felt something more than cold. I felt anger. Not just mine. The forest trembled. The roots pulsed. The girl fell backward, choking on air too heavy to breathe. I didn't want to scare them. But the truth doesn't come gently. Especially when it's been buried alive. The girl didn't return. Not that night. Not the next. But something did. A memory. Not mine, his. I don't know how I saw it. Maybe because they touched the dress. Maybe because that piece of me awakened something in the lake. But I saw it clearly. It was August 17th, 1964. He brought me to the dock with a smile. Said he wanted to show me something just a little further. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? I didn't see the rock in his hand. I didn't feel the push. Only the silence that swallowed me. And then, nothing. Until now. The lake is different since they came. It ripples at night even without wind. The fish don't swim near the shore. And the birds don't sing in the mornings. Sometimes I hear voices. Not the living. Other voices. Ones like mine. Ones trapped between then and now. I think the lake remembers all of us. Tonight, a man came. Old. Limping. Holding a bottle in one hand and guilt in the other. He stood by the tree. The one with my dress. He didn't dig. He didn't speak. But he cried. Not the tears of sorrow, the tears of fear. He knows. He knows someone saw him back then. Not the police. Not his friends. Me. And I've never left. As he turned to go, the ground near the tree cracked. Just a little. Enough for him to stumble. Enough for his hand to brush the dirt again. Enough for me to whisper, I remember you. Should I forgive him? No one ever asked what I wanted. But soon, everyone will know. Because the lake is done keeping secrets. He came back the next night. The old man. But this time, he didn't bring the bottle. He brought a shovel. I watched him dig beneath the tree. Hands shaking as if each scoop of dirt pulled up more than just soil, like it unearthed every secret he thought time had buried. And then, he found it. My shoes. Still muddy. Still small. Still waiting. He fell to his knees, clutching them like a man begging the past to forget. I didn't mean to, he whispered. But that's a lie we tell ourselves, isn't it? He meant to push. Maybe not to kill. But he never meant to save. The lake watched. The trees leaned in. Even the wind stilled. Time doesn't move here like it does for you. Here, it lingers. It remembers. And now, so do I. The man looked up and saw me. Not my face. Not my body. My outline. My ache. And when he did, he whispered, I see you. For the first time in 60 years, someone saw me. Not a shadow. Not a whisper. Me. But redemption isn't earned by tears alone. So I walked toward him. With every step, the ground beneath him softened, like the earth knew he didn't belong here anymore. And when I reached him, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply said, you buried me. But the lake dug me back up. His breath caught. He clutched his chest. The shovel fell. And for a moment, I thought it was over. But no, not yet. The lake has one more story to tell. Mine. And it's not done writing it. The old man collapsed. Face first into the earth he had once used to hide me. But the lake didn't let him die, not yet. It held him in that moment just as it had held me for decades. In the cold. In the silence. In the inescapable memory of what he had done. I didn't move. I didn't need to. The lake did it for me. The wind returned, circling the tree like a noose tightening. The branches groaned, as if waking from a long sleep. The air grew thick, damp not just with moisture, but regret. From the lake's center, a ripple spread outward. It glowed faint blue, not moonlight, memory light. In that ripple, I saw them, the others. Children, women, men, souls the lake had claimed over the years. Some accidental, some like me unforgiven. They stood along the shore, eyes empty, waiting, watching. And he saw them too. He tried to crawl, but his legs wouldn't move. Because the lake had taken those from me long ago, and now it was evening, the scales. Please, he whispered. But no one answered. Because ghosts don't forgive. They remember. The tree cracked. The dirt opened. And from beneath the ground, something rose. Not bones. Not roots. A dress. Mine. Clean. Untorn. Dripping. It floated toward me. And as I touched it, I felt myself change. No longer hollow. No longer lost. Whole. I looked down at the man one last time. He was sobbing now. A child again. I didn't speak. I just turned toward the lake. The others followed. And together, we returned to the water. Not as victims, but as witnesses. Because the truth always surfaces. And the lake remembers everything. The lake was calm again. As if it had finally exhaled after 60 years of holding its breath. We stood at its edge, the forgotten, the drowned, the dead, and waited. Not for justice. Justice is for the living. We waited for release. The man still lay beneath the tree. Not dead, but not whole either. The weight of guilt is heavier than water. And now it had rooted him where he had buried me. The ground had swallowed his past and left him with nothing but truth. He whispered my name. And for the first time in decades, I remembered it too. Anna. The others looked at me. Some smiled. Some cried. Some just disappeared into the fog. Their stories were done. But not mine. Not yet. I stepped into the water. It was no longer cold, no longer pulling. It welcomed me, arms open, heart still, like it had always been waiting for me to come home whole. And as I sank beneath the surface, the stars above flickered. One blinked out, mine, and the lake, it slept, for now. But if you ever find yourself near Black Hollow, and the wind shifts, and the water stirs, and a child's voice whispers your name, don't answer. Some stories are better left at the bottom. The end.